Pitties. I want to pop on here really quickly to say that the next clip that you see is going to be a full-on interview with somebody that I really admire. His name is Jonathan, and I love his whole story on body dysmorphia, eating disorders, going through his weight loss from 300 pounds plus to what he is currently, his keto journey, and also about self-compassion and acceptance for the self. This is not my typical video slash vlog. I just wanted to share this content with you because I found it to be extremely valuable. I will have the regular uploads next week with the vlogs and the motivation, diet slash exercise, and positive lifestyle tips. But for now, super duper enjoy this one-time special bonus interview with the one and only Jonathan.
How are you?
I'm good. Well, no, let me rephrase that. I am feeling very anxious today, and that is just the truth of the matter right now. A lot of things. I feel like this week has really taken a toll on me with work, and also did not sleep very well last night. There always seems to be 1 or 2 nights a week where I just get terrible sleep. So that combination did not work so well for me. Yeah. But here we are, and I know that God has blessed me today to be able to live and breathe and talk with somebody like you. I don't take this for granted at all. I think this is a huge privilege, and I'm so glad to have found somebody like you. So
well, thanks. I'm excited to talk with you for sure. I'm excited to chat.
How was your day?
Same. Well, it was okay. I usually go for a really long run in the mornings, but I woke up to very nasty thunderclouds, so things got rescheduled. I actually plan on going on the run after we get done chatting.
Okay. All right. I hate it when, you have a plan and God goes, actually.
Yeah, well, I've kind of gotten used to that. Especially when you own your own company, you get really used to kind of I have like a structured schedule, but it's constantly flexing, constantly. So I'm very used to adapting and moving on. So it doesn't really bother me anymore.
Good. That's like mental neuroplasticity. I like how flexible you are in the mind. That's something.
Yeah. I used to not be. When I was a kid, a teenager, it was bad.
All right. Okay. So I'm so excited to chat with you. I just want this to be I don't want this to be super duper formal. I just want to get to know you more and chat with you. And I would love to share some of the things and the tips that you have with my following, either on my blog, my social media, or my YouTube. Is that okay with you?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I go with the flow, so we could just go where the conversation takes us.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so my name is Jonathan Shane. I am the owner and CEO of Keto Road LLC, which is a nutrition coaching company. I have one other coach that works under me. I am a functional nutritional therapist practitioner. Basically, that's a lot of words for simply saying I help people use food as medicine. And so basically, I grew up as an emotional eater. By the time I was 14, I was extremely obese, lost all the weight, and developed some bad dysmorphic behaviors and eating disorders, like very severe bulimia along the way. Battled that for numerous years. Found keto in 2017, a low-carb diet, and that kind of gave me the nutritional foundation to address my eating disorders and address my issues. And I just wanted an opportunity to share that with the world. And so I was getting coached by a guy named Robert Sykes for a bodybuilding show, and I asked him if I could coach for him, and he said yes. And so I started coaching people under him. And then last November, I decided to buy my own company, and now we're here. That's the short of it.
Well, there's so much I want to uncover in that time span. So you mentioned that growing up, you were obese at 14. What was it like going to school, having peers, and just navigating, and being 14? My sister is 14. My little sister is 14. It's an awkward time. I remember being 14 and just discovering myself. So never mind the body image on top of that, the social life, and then the binging just makes it a lot worse. So tell me a little bit about that. What was it like?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So it's weird because the psyche that I had back then was very skewed. So I was one of those kids that on the surface, like, people would make jokes or make fun of me and I would just laugh at myself too, or I would make the joke before they did, because like if I could laugh at myself before they laughed at me, then it was like this twisted idea of acceptance I had. And so I was the kid that was constantly making jokes about myself, and it was weird too because I remember distinctly 8th grade year, I loved to go up to people and ask them how much they thought I weighed. And they'd always guess less than what I weighed. And then I would tell them my real weight and go, yeah, see, so I just got a lot of muscle. It's like I was constantly trying to like justify being super heavy because it was weird. Like I said, like I still don't fully understand the psychological, like, or the psyche that I had back then, but it was very twisted and corrupted, and it was based on very much a skewed idea of acceptance.
Mm.
And I fed it, and I fed it a lot. And it wasn't until I went to the doctor freshman year of high school, I stepped on the scale, I was like 250. I remember stepping on that scale and being super proud. I was like, yeah, I'm a big dude. And then I went inside the doctor's office and she was telling me how bad it was for my health. And then I got my blood drawn and my cholesterol was all over the place. Like she was saying if I was an adult, they had to put me on statins immediately. Like I was like super, super unhealthy. And that scared the crap out of me. And so I started to lose weight. And that's kind of how the bulimia manifested, because what happened was I lost all the weight. And when I lost all the weight, like I started getting girlfriends and I started getting accepted, but actual acceptance, not like the acceptance, the skewed idea of acceptance I had had for so many years, and just the idea of like getting attention, whether it's negative or positive. And so with true acceptance, obviously it felt way better. I wasn't getting made fun of as much. I didn't have to make fun of myself. I could kind of learn to try and be like who I was as a person and all that. But the thing is that I associated that with the weight loss. Like I got accepted because I was skinny, because I was fit. And so I developed a fear of gaining that weight back. And so I was severely dieting. So like I always had I started creating a binge cycle because obviously I didn't understand hunger hormones at that point, but I would have binges because I would be eating so little and so, low fat, crazy diet. And
The sad diet, I call it.
yeah. And
diet.
yeah, well, no. So like, it was more of like literally my days when I was losing weight, my days where I'd wake up, I'd have skim milk and Captain Crunch,
Yeah.
then a protein shake, a spinach protein shake, and then lunch was a salad with fat-free ranch and chicken breast, and dinner was the same thing. And that's what I ate every day for like 2 years.
And did you count calories at that point?
Not at that point. I didn't start counting calories. So that was from like ages 14 to 16. So like 16 is when the bulimia started to develop, and that's when I started tracking macros, because then I got obsessed with like trying to figure out how much I was eating. Because if I ate a certain amount and I gained weight the next day, then I knew that, hey, this next day I either need to not eat anything, or if I eat something, I need to make myself throw up. And that way I don't like gain any more weight. And so my tracking actually started for a very unhealthy reason. It was to try and control my eating. And I would respond. And so I didn't like track to like make myself throw up, but my tracking and my weight would dictate how I responded, to my food the following day. And so, yeah, that's how the bulimia developed, was through that idea of like, okay, I need to keep this weight off. So I'm going to do what is necessary to do that, because something I've said before, when I spoke at KetoCon, I said that, it's easy to hurt yourself when you hate yourself. And when your acceptance is based on other people's idea of you, you don't really love yourself. You love their idea of you. And so, if you don't love yourself, then you hate yourself. It's either, there's no gray, it's black or white. And it's really easy to hurt yourself to be able to get the acceptance of others when you don't like who you are yourself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so the bulimia just exploded, and it got really bad. Like there was at one point I was throwing up blood, and like I couldn't drink liquids because the scar tissue was so bad in my throat. Like it was it got nasty there for a second. Yeah.
What was it? Did anybody know about it? Did you hide it? What was it like?
Yeah, so I did. So for a while, I hid it, I would say pretty well. I don't think there's any good way of hiding that. You should never hide it. But I was pretty good at hiding it in that sense. I would throw up in the shower. I would throw up in grocery bags and throw them in the dumpster. So how I got caught, though, my parents were the first ones that found out. I was throwing up under rocks in the backyard, and my dogs found the puke. And so my parents obviously wanted to go see what they were doing and found it all. And then that's when things got really awkward, because like if I went to the bathroom or something, I'd come out and my parents would like put their noses on my breath to see if they could smell vomit, and they would go check the bathroom after I'd left, and it was like the really weird couple months. So yeah.
And after what happened after your weight loss? After you, how did you emerge out of that?
Okay, so I would say it really started when I was 16. So I would say if I get the timeline right, and I always get the timeline a little messed up because it was just so much going on at such a short amount of window. So I started losing weight when I was 14. I developed a bulimia probably when I was 15, and then come 16 going into 17. So I'd say about 3 months before I turned 17. So late 16-year-old. So bulimia has been going on for like almost 2 years now. um, I found my faith as a Christian, and that was really the starter there, because it gave me a sense of value outside of myself and outside of humans, and it gave me this value system of, well, it doesn't matter, like all humans are bad, right? Like all humans have this innate desire, like to do things for themselves. Like we all have this level of sin, right? And we've all fallen short. And God doesn't base his value off of you based off of your actions or how you act or how you look. He bases it solely off of whether you accept his son or not. And like, so accepting that truth and accepting his son, I felt like I had value that wasn't dictated by how I looked or felt. And that really paved the way for me to start fighting it. But it didn't go well. Like the first couple years were nasty, I would say. So I got saved right before I turned 17, and then I probably battled with it a lot up until I was 19. So about 3 years fighting it, and then I got married when I was 20, and I had
Wow.
yeah. So I got married when I was 20, and with my wife, I had a couple relapses. Like every 3 or 4 months, I'd like have a relapse. I'd just have a really bad binge, and I'd make myself puking. My wife would find the throw up no matter how much I tried to clean it, and it was like really awkward all the time. And then I would say when I turned, so I'm 25 now, when I turned 22, 23 is when I found keto. And once I went keto, I didn't have a relapse for the first like 9 months. And then I did like this bodybuilding prep. And after the prep, I started binging a lot because I couldn't control myself during the reverse diet process. And I relapsed one more time, and that was September of 2018. And once that happened, I realized, okay, so I still have not fully conquered this thing. It's obvious that the only reason I haven't relapsed in almost a year is because I was keeping my weight under control and I wasn't binging. But now that I'm obviously having some tendencies, it's triggering this, which means I haven't fully addressed this thing. I've just kind of pushed it down. And so then I started to actually address it. And as I addressed it, I started sharing it on my social media, what I was going through. And come to find out, a lot of men that struggle with this don't talk about it. And so that's kind of through me overcoming it and sharing my experiences is how like I've started to become, I don't want to say a pioneer, because people obviously have been talking about bulimia for a long time, but more of like an advocate for like male eating disorders and body dysmorphia, and like how to wrestle with that as a man. And so yeah, so I would say the past 2 years have really been the other side of that hill. Like I haven't relapsed. In September it'll be 2 years, which is the longest I've ever gone since I've had the disorder. Yeah, and so, but that was like in a 10-year journey. 8 years of that was like a super struggle, like a lot of mess ups, and so it's a long journey, but we're definitely on the other side of it. So it's been good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You mentioned that you got married at 20. So what was it like dating your wife during the time that you had bulimia and you had body dysmorphic?
Okay, that's interesting. So it's funny on two fronts. One, because I didn't realize I had body dysmorphia until about a year and a half ago. Like I didn't even know what body dysmorphia was. And so that really wasn't an issue. It was an issue, but it wasn't because I didn't know it existed. So I just thought I was a really harsh critic of myself, right? But when it came to Ashley, I can't really say that my bulimia or my body dysmorphia dictated that relationship. That relationship, that's like a whole nother interview. Cause like me and my wife, we met, we talked for like a month, and then we decided that I decided I wasn't ready for a relationship. And then she kind of stayed in contact for like 6 months. And then come like August of, oh, no, I don't want to get these dates messed up. August of 2015, we started courting, which basically means, so we waited till marriage. And actually we didn't even kiss until our wedding day. Fun fact. Yeah, it was hardcore. No, it wasn't all, it was hard. But so we courted in August of 2015, and then we got married in January of 2016. So we only dated for 6 months before we got married. So it wasn't like this really long like dating process for us. So she didn't really have to deal like that's what I'm trying to say. Like those two issues that I had they didn't really affect my relationship with her that much, if that makes sense. Of course, after we got married, she would find throw up when I relapsed, but she's never, even to this day, she's never dealt with anything like that. So she has a hard time resonating with that struggle that I have.
Okay. And during the time that she did find out, was there shame? How was she supportive? Was she supportive? What was it like?
For me, of course, there was shame and embarrassment. Like because at that point I knew it was something wrong. Like I knew that it was an impulsive, wrong decision. I was hurting myself to gain something that didn't need to be gained, or lose something that didn't need to be lost. And of course, so when she found out, there was a lot of shame and embarrassment. But I find whenever I do something that my wife doesn't approve of, there's a lot of shame and embarrassment. And it's just like dealing with it in that moment and then trying to let it go and working on being better the next time. In terms of her like supporting me, I mean, I'm not going to say that she doesn't support me, but like I said, she doesn't really resonate, right? So like, I know that there are people out there that are probably going to watch this that struggle with eating disorders and their spouse does not. And, if there's any piece of advice I can give you, it's that if they're not immediately resonating with how you feel, it's not that they don't love you. They love you. They care. They just don't understand. And you can't, and if you are getting upset with them because they don't understand, that's your problem, not theirs. You have to understand that they're not going to resonate with that because they don't deal with it. And even though it's so real to you and it's so obvious to you that you expect everybody around you to understand it, they're just not going to. Eating disorders are one of those things that it's just really hard for people that don't deal with it to resonate with it because it's just so complex and ingrained in your brain. So yeah.
Yeah, and I find that anything with mental health, anything that you experience that if somebody else does not experience, you can only, I think, listen to them and try empathizing with them, but you will never fully understand. And one person's mental well-being, I don't want to say mental illness, I feel like you need fixing. And honestly, everybody's on their own journey. Everybody has their own journey in mental well-being as well. So your experience is different from somebody else's experience with an eating disorder, which is different from somebody else. So everybody is unique in that way. And I love that you touched on that. You mentioned that Christianity was a huge saving grace in the depths out of bulimia. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you discover Christ? Do you still keep that relationship with God today? And what your parents growing up, were they religious?
Great question. So I was not raised in a Christian home. My mom is a believer, but my stepfather is not. My parents split when I was 2 years old. My biological father and my stepmother are not. And so there are, and granted, we can get into like, just because you say you believe, do you really believe? Like that's a whole theological discussion. But basically, like when it comes to being a devout follower of Christ and living your life in that way, none of my family really is that. And so I grew up in a very like, spread your wings and fly, like, try everything once, sow your wild oats. And I had a lot of emotional issues when I was a kid due to my parents splitting. There's a lot of like need for a male figure and attention. And so from a very early age, I was dabbling in drugs and alcohol and sexual relationships. I mean, from as early as 12 years old. By the time I got saved, I had tried so many things that most college kids don't even try. And as unfortunate as that is, now that I look back, I knew that it was needed because I had to get to a place of what you would call a rock bottom. Like I had to have tried everything because I was just a stubborn kid like that. I was always looking for that quick fix and trying to figure out what's next for that buzz or that high. And I had to get to a point where I had no other answers. Like I had no other options. And so when I was 16, I really did not like life. Like the bulimia was going on, but there was a lot more going on in my life than just the bulimia. Like you're talking like, the alcohol, the drugs, relationships that were going sour a lot. I just wasn't happy with myself. Nothing I tried made me happy. And my best friend now, his name is Jacob. He one day we were playing football, or we were in the football locker room, and he tells me to this day, he just felt led to hand me a Bible. He handed me this Bible, and I got into church. My mom had taken me to church when I was a kid, so I knew what a Bible was, but like I didn't really understand Christianity. And so I started reading it, and I really resonated with a lot that was in it. And then the next following Tuesday, I went to a Bible study, and there was a pastor that started telling us about his life, and he sounded a lot like he was telling us about how he was when he was 16, and he sounded just like me. And so I was really fascinated because he looked so happy and content with life, and I was just so miserable. And I was like, what do you have that I don't have? Because like now I'm desperate. Like what? Like come on, what secrets you hiding from me? Yeah. And he shared that he found Jesus. He took us to the Roman roads, and he said the reason that you're not happy with life is because you're trying things that God was meant to fulfill. Like you're trying to find happiness and peace and love and joy and all of these things when God designed you to only be able to find those in a satisfactory way in Him. And the only way to get there is to have your debt paid. And if the debt of sin is death, then you need to pay death. And because God loved you, he let his son die for you, and his son chose to die for you so that debt can be paid through him, and all you have to do is believe in him. And like that whole gospel, beautiful gospel message. And so I just was like, all right, God, I don't know if you're real, but if you are, like, I'm gonna give you my life because I don't like have any other options. And that was my prayer. Like I didn't have like some traditional sinner's prayer. I prayed that, and then like it was like I got hit by a truck. Like immediately, like I felt physically fuller. Like I started laughing and crying. It was this crazy like moment. Like I really felt in that moment like God really like entered my chest, and he filled a hole in my heart I didn't realize was there. And so that happened. And then so once that happened, I was a change guy, like a complete 180. Like the next day, like I lost friends over it because like all I did was talk about Jesus. I did not shut up. I read the whole New Testament in a week, like
Wow.
the whole Old Testament in a week. I just zoomed through it. I was hungry. But of course, life happened, and I went through some struggles. There were periods after that where like I was definitely acting like my old self, and then God in me had a moment, and I came back up and back and forth. And then fast forward to when I got married when I was 20, I ended up starting to do ministry work for a church plant. 3 years ago, I became the youth pastor of that church plant. So right now, I'm currently a youth pastor of a church plant in Houston. Been doing that for 3 years. Yeah, so it's been a crazy ride, but definitely. It's funny, the more mature you get in your faith, it's just different. Like as you grow, like how you handle things, how you mix your faith into your general messages. Like it's like if you go to my Instagram posts or my YouTube channel, like I'm constantly. I'm not like in your face like shoving Jesus down your throat, but I'm constantly like encouraging people to like seek truth, seek real truth, seek true fulfillment, seek true joy, because I know that my God is real. And I know that if I ask people to seek those things, I don't have to say the word Jesus. I know if they're truly seeking them, they're going to end up at Jesus at some point, right? And so it's just getting them to seek those qualities that I know only God can really give them. And so I'm constantly trying to like riddle my information with that. And it's been a fun ride so far.
I love how you're not shoving this message down people's throats. I think that's the best way that you're able to make an impact with people to turn towards God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something that you mentioned, way back in the beginning, you said you like to make fun of yourself before other people make fun of you. I kind of see that as you taking ownership so that you can own up to it before they kind of, it's almost like a protective mechanism. So like if I can hurt myself before, like you can't hurt me more because I've already acknowledged it, so you can't do that. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, so it's yeah, exactly. So it was this idea of like it's something my grandpa taught me. So like this is not a healthy thing. Okay, understand what I'm about to say is not healthy. Do not take this advice. But he would call me fat or call me gay, and I was like 13 or 14 years old, right? And he's calling me all these names, and I would get really upset, and then he would like make fun of my uncle in the same way, and my uncle, instead of getting upset, with like if he called him gay, he would start acting gay, like this like really weird,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I'm not saying that people that are homosexual are weird, but I'm saying like just like the response was weird and it wasn't okay. Like I knew there's something off about it, but it kind of developed this sense of me of is like, okay, they can't make fun of you if you make fun of yourself first.
I see. So
Right.
it's
And
almost
so
like,
it was like this twisted idea. That's why I said it's this twisted idea of acceptance of like, well, if I laugh with them, they'll leave me alone and I'll just be part
ah,
of the group. And like I
ah,
can, and like it's funny because even now I'm not like that now. I still have that aura about me. Like if you talk to any of my good friends now, they'll tell you like for some reason John's just easy to pick on. It's really easy to laugh at me because I'm just a goofball in general, but I have a tendency to be very okay with people like making. Yeah, it was a protective mechanism of like if I make fun of if I beat you to the punch, then I'll be okay. Like you can't make fun of me then, and so like it I guess it started this like really bad psyche of like if I make fun of myself, like then you can't. And then like that was like, and I would find like if they laughed and I laughed, they would laugh at me laughing at myself, and I would be the goofball, and then I would be like accepted, quote unquote, and I wouldn't be made fun of because I made fun of myself anyways, and and some yeah, it was crazy, and that went on for like 2 or 3 years of my life. It was pretty bad, but yeah, so that was a mentality that got developed from a not very healthy um, line of thinking.
You mentioned that once you finally lost the weight, you found true acceptance. I want to know, what do you think it was about yourself that changed and made them accept you as when you lost weight as opposed to when you weren't?
Yeah, it's a great question. So that I really actually think that's the only factor. I think that when they look at the chubby guy running around, that makes fun of himself, then that's who they make fun of. And then when you lose weight and you start, getting attention from girls, and you start just like looking like one of the more, athletic dudes, you're more accepted. And then with that acceptance comes like some fictitious form of confidence. And so you start acting a little bit more chill. You're not near as goofy. And so really, I really think it came down to the fact that our society embraces that idea of that toned athletic kid, and that if you're not, then you're not near as accepted. Because like when I say accepted, I meant like I wasn't getting made fun of as much, and like I started getting dates and started being able to like have relationships with chicks more and more, and all of that. And so when I say true acceptance, I don't mean in terms of like a healthy acceptance. I still think it was very unhealthy, but it was like true in the sense of like they were truly like they weren't accepting me because I made fun of myself. They were accepting me as me, one of the
Okay, so
football players.
it sounds like they gave you a chance to get to know you beyond the fat kid, and that's what spurred a true relationship. As when you were fat before, they didn't give you the chance to. They didn't give you a chance to really be a friend. Am I getting this right?
Well, I don't think I gave myself the chance. See, so
Okay.
it's something I always think about is if when I was heavier, if I would have acted the way I act now, would I have been made fun of as much? Right? Like, but like I said, like it wasn't just the weight, it was it's the way I thought of myself. And so when I lost all the weight and they started
showed up too.
yeah, so when I started to lose the weight, Like, that's why the bulimia got triggered. It's not like any of them told me, oh, if you're skinny or you gain a little weight, we're going to hate you more now. I associated them being more okay with me being, with me being skinnier. So if I gained the weight, I was screwed. Like, I had to go back to that old way of thinking and treating myself. And I didn't want to do that. So instead of rather making fun of myself, I just shoved my fingers down my throat, because that made more sense to me to retain what I had gained, because that's how I associated it in my head. It wasn't just them. It was the way that I perceived it, because if I would have just stayed cool and confident and gained 10, 15 pounds, nothing probably would have changed at all. I still would have had my friends. I still would have had relationships. It was all in here. I had a really twisted idea of myself.
Okay, so it seems like you changed as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that past. I know that's really, really vulnerable.
I'm used to it.
I'm wondering. It's great because your story just heals other people, right? The more you're able to share, the more you heal yourself, and then the more other people feel like, hey, I feel like I can share this too, because bruh, I've gone through it, right? I want to pivot a little bit. Keto Savage, how did you discover Robert? I think he's amazing. I follow his podcast all the time. And then what made you want to work for him? What was it like working for him?
Oh man, I'm gonna make or break this dude's career right now. No, I'm kidding. So what happened was I really liked keto, but I wanted to build muscle because I was like this meathead. So I was like, I need to know how to bulk on keto. Is that even possible? Do you need carbs? And so I Googled ketogenic bodybuilders. So this is like December of 2017. And Robert pops up. And I'm like, dude, this dude's shredded. This is like, I saw his first KetoCon talk. So I emailed him, and the dude emailed me back. And so like we were emailing back and forth all of January. And then February of 2018, I was like, you know what? I want to do a bodybuilding prep. I like this guy. I'm making decent money right now. I can afford a coach. Let's do it. And so I took that plunge and I started being coached by him. And honestly, getting coached by him changed my life, because the way that he set up my macros, he did like the 80% fat, which is a whole nutritional video we can do about how like that higher fat I think is so essential to go through for at least a period, because like it healed my shoulder injuries. It did all kinds of crazy stuff. And then obviously as I worked with him and I watched his YouTube vlogs and I watched him start Keto Brick from the ground up, and just the amazing vision that he had and still has, he's just an amazing guy to talk to. He just, he's so empowering and so strong and respectable. And, after my prep, I told him, I said, hey, like, I really like how you have this passion to do like keto. And like, I kind of have that passion. Like I've always been into fitness. I've always wanted to coach. And I just love keto now, and I want to share it with people. And he had Deeper State Keto as a company, just starting with Matt and Mega, and they had coaches. And I said, I would love to be a Deeper State Keto coach and coach people one-on-one. And, and he gave me the opportunity. And, one thing I always tell him, I still tell him to this day, I don't even work for the guy anymore. And I tell him, you taking a chance on me and giving me that job when you knew nothing about me literally was one of the most pivotal moments of my life. Because if he wouldn't have said yes, I wouldn't be in this chair talking to you right now. Like, that's how pivotal of a moment that was. There's a lot of things that have happened in the past 2 years that they wouldn't have happened. Who knows? But I know that one for a fact. If he wouldn't have said, you know what, I'm going to give you a shot. I'm going to put you on. We're going to bring you up to Arkansas. We're going to, make you part of the crew. If that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. And so, like, I am forever in his debt, 100%. And, working for him was great. Like, there's something about Robert, like, he makes you want to be more. And, like, just being around him, like, you just want to do more. You just want to be better. And it's like, it was fun because as I was navigating, because when I first got with him, I just was thinking, you know what, I'm just going to help them build this legacy he has, this vision he has. I'm going to back him 100%. And I still do. I still support him in any way I can by, like, shouting out the Keto Brick, which I do because I love the crap. But I also love him and I want to help support him, but like as I began to really dig into like being a coach and how I looked at nutrition and health and all that, I decided that I didn't want, not that I felt confined as a Deeper State Keto coach, but I didn't want to be confined in general to somebody else's vision. I wanted to create my own vision. And as it started to develop, you know, it's crazy. I went to Robert, you know, probably October of last year, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm thinking about starting my own thing. Like, I have this vision of what I want. Like, I want to grow my own vision. And he didn't say wait 6 months. He didn't say, I don't know. He said, start next month. Rip the Band-Aid off. Like, he was like so encouraging, and he has been nothing but encouraging. Like, so he is just somebody that I respect, that he's somebody that I'm saying, if you get to know him, like, personally, he will change your life. Like, he makes you want to be more. And if it's a positive thing for you and for the people around you, he's going to motivate you to do it 100%.
That's amazing. He sounds like such a mentor to you.
Very much so. Robert is somebody, I mean, you know, it's funny that like everybody has those, like, you know, bracelets like what would Jesus do? It's very rare. It's very rare when I'm making a business decision that I don't have the thought cross my mind, what would Robert do? What would Robert do? It crosses my, at least every time, like if I'm doing something about coaching or like maybe like marketing or maybe my next big move, they're always like, okay, what would Robert do? Right? Like, it constantly crosses my mind. And I reach out to him, and he gives me the best advice he can. You know, obviously he's running his own thing, so we don't talk too much, but that's just because like when you run a business, that's kind of friendships you have. You just don't talk to them that much because you're busy, you know, so.
That's amazing. And speaking of career, what is next for you career-wise? And what's next for you in life? Like, what's next for you career-wise, in your relationship? I think, are you expecting?
Mm-hmm.
And also, what's your diet like now? So those three things: diet, exercise, relationship, and career-wise.
All right,
Where are you headed?
Let's do diet. So diet first. So I'm doing more of an intuitive ketogenic diet now. So I really go based off how I feel. Actually, I literally, as we were talking, it finally finished processing the video on my 6 tips of intuitive eating on YouTube. Because it's been a struggle the past 3 weeks, like learning how to eat intuitively when you've had an eating disorder your whole life and you don't really trust your food hunger and like your mind when it comes to food. Very difficult, but I think I've figured it out. The past week has been flawless. And not in terms of like I've had like I'm like getting shredded or anything, but like in terms of like I'm comfortable with my body and I'm comfortable with what I'm eating, and I don't feel like I finally figured out, like, you know, the difference between eating macros, eating towards a goal, and then eating intuitively. Those 3 are very different things. And I was doing the goal thing, and then I finally moved to the intuitive thing, and it seems to be working out. So I'm doing intuitive keto.
That's good. That's scary stuff.
Scary. It's scary because there's a lot of reasons it's scary. We could totally dive into that at some point. But so basically a day of eating for me. So like today I woke up, I didn't eat anything at first. And then I found out that I wasn't going to run. So I did a half and half frothed coffee. So I do like 2 tablespoons of half and half. I froth coffee and
oh my God, I love froth. I love froth to death.
And then I was craving one thing I eat every day. Without fail, I eat it every day, is 5 strawberries and a tablespoon of almond butter. Every day. Like, it does not, and it's not necessarily a tablespoon. Like, I just kind of spoonful the almond butter, but it's 4 to 5 strawberries. I mean, every morning. It's like crack. I don't know. I love it. So I have that. Sometimes I might have some low carb melons. Like I'll have like honeydew instead of strawberries, or I'll have blackberries, or I even tried papaya, because papaya is only 9 grams of carbs per 100 ounces or 100 grams. So I might have 20, 30 grams. So I have like 3 pieces of papaya. It's like 3 carbs, you know? And so like I'll have like a low carb fruit with almond butter. And then normally after my run, that's normally when I have the fruit and the almond butter, because usually I run fasted. And then I'll have like a protein shake. So usually it's like protein powder and maybe heavy cream or coconut milk, depending if I'm in the mood for dairy, to get the fats in. And then lunch will normally be like some kind of like meat with a fat and maybe some cheese. And then dinner will be the same thing. I don't eat a lot of veggies anymore. I just don't crave them. If I do, I'll have like zucchini chips, like I'll slice up zucchini or something. Or maybe like today for lunch I had spaghetti squash Mexican casserole. My wife made it. It was delicious. But most of the time it's like meats, dairies, and fruit. That's kind of like low carb fruit, meat, and dairy. And that's kind of what I stick to. And I find that if you have like a staple whole food foundation that you choose from when you eat intuitively, it makes it way easier. Like intuitive eating's hard if you're eating processed foods, even keto ones, because they're made to be satiating. Like I think the only processed thing that I can eat intuitively every day, it's going to sound funny, but is the keto brick. And it's because the keto brick is not engineered to taste like candy. It's a performance bar that happens to have a sweetness to it. And so I can eat that and it seems to still cue my hunger signaling well. So I enjoy eating it intuitively. Whereas like other bars, I'm not going to name any, but like other keto bars, they're definitely more engineered to taste really good. And so I can't, because like I can eat them and still be hungry after, because they're, you know, they're not nutrient dense, right? And so, yeah, that's what my diet looks like right now. In terms of relationship, we are expecting. We don't know the gender yet. She's 10 weeks along. She's doing well. Her diet, she was doing strict keto. She's adopted more of what my baby's going to be eating, more of like a low carb paleo diet. So she still eats like higher fat foods, but she also incorporates sweet potato and like more higher glycemic fruits like apples and mangoes and peaches. But she still stays away from all white bread, all white flour, all grains, all processed food. She doesn't eat any of that crap. So that's how that's going. And then in terms of going forward, what we have planned, there are a couple of things I can't talk about yet because it's not 100% going to happen. But I will say that one of the big things that I have going is here in a week, we're going to start releasing the ability for people to purchase our group coaching. So me and my other coach that works with me, Coach Mike, we did a round of group coaching about 6 months ago, and it went great. You know, the 35 members. It was our first time. There was a little bit of content. It was a good time. This time is way more. Like we've got recipe videos. We're going to have weekly topic videos. We're going to have weekly discussion videos. We're going to have weekly recipes. We're going to have a recipe video. I mean, it's going to be a lot of content for a really good price. And we really want it to blow up, because if it does good, and I said this on my YouTube video, if this does good, if it gets a lot of traction, blows up, a lot of people purchase it and it rides, then it's going to pave the way for our next real big thing. So the thing I can't talk about is writing on this being successful at the moment. So we're going to see how that plays out. And depending on how it plays out, will let me know if I'm going to start that, if I'm going to announce that next thing sooner or later, because it's going to happen regardless. But depending the time window really varies depending on how successful we are in the next couple months.
Okay. Wow. That's really, really exciting. And if you just send me the links, I will definitely include the media posts. For a long time, you were 85 or 80% fat. Now, that is quite high. Were you like eating pork belly? Because I remember when I was doing that, I was eating lots of bacon, lots of pork belly. I was like topping it with butter and coconut oil. Bacon, having pork belly just like made everything a lot easier.
Yeah, so when I was eating 80% fat, my diet consisted of butter, cauliflower, pork belly, really fatty ground beef, and a lot of olives. Those like my 5 big ones. And I ate the crap. It's funny. I did 80% fat keto for like 7 months before I discovered pork belly. When I discovered pork belly, I don't know
how you do it.
When I discovered pork belly, I was like, what? This is a thing? This is dope.
I know. It just makes it so much more tastier and like easier too.
Yeah.
Drinking oil, I guess you actually get to chew on something.
Well, and one thing that helped a lot was keto meal. So when I went 80% keto meal came out from American Metabolics, the buttered powdered keto powder. And so I would mix that with heavy cream, and that would make like a 90% fat bowl of just, it felt like drinking like a pound of food. Like it was so dense. Yes. So I would do that and like half a keto brick and some ground beef, and I couldn't eat anymore.
So when did you decide to transition your macros into lower fats?
So basically, it's the same concept as Robert has talked about, because I do believe in a lot of his philosophies. It's the idea of like finding a protein threshold. So when you start prepping for a competition, as you go on, you're going to start at a higher fat ratio, and you're going to slowly lower that ratio and raise protein as your calories go down until you start to feel tired and lethargic. And I've been keto for like 2 or 3 years. And so it was interesting. My last prep, I found that I had gotten down to like 60% protein or 60% fat. Like I dropped it low. And I still was running ketones. My blood sugar was still staying under 90 almost all the time. No skyrocks, no hundreds, unless I had just worked out. And so it was really stable, and I wasn't feeling lethargic. It was the oddest thing, but I kept at it. And so I just feel really good now with I'm not gonna say super high protein, but I probably sit around 65, 66% fat all the time now. And I feel pretty good doing that.
That's good. Awesome. Okay. A word on self-compassion and kindness on the food addiction / body dysmorphic journey.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to somebody who is on their way to, whether or not they're accepting, they're trying to accept their bodies, or they're accepting just of themselves as a person, or their eating disorder journey, or their addiction journey, the journey to self-love? What would you say to somebody like that? Because you strike me as somebody who has grown his heart because of the things that you have gone through, right? Because of your hardship. So if you could take yourself and imagine yourself as your 16-year-old just struggling so hard to not only accept himself, but his body and his drinking and just everything going on in life, what would you say? What would you say?
I would give them really honestly, there's 2 really big pieces of advice. The first one is acknowledge the little things. The journey of self-love starts with acceptance of what your body's capable of now. Often people that do have dysmorphic behaviors or have negative self-image, they have this very deep ideal that when they hit that goal weight or whatever, that they're going to magically wake up when they see that on the scale and they're just going to love themselves. And the truth is that's not what happens. I mean, we might be proud of ourselves, but eventually that fades, and then there's just this black hole from that goal not being there anymore. And 9 times out of 10, they gain all the weight back because they don't know what to do with themselves. And so, real self-love starts with accepting where you're at. And that really comes, especially if you're overweight and you're not where you need to be from a health perspective, that comes from acknowledging those little things. So one thing I try to do is every day I wake up, the first thought that runs to my mind now is you're breathing. And it sounds dumb, but I wake up and I'm like, oh, thank God I'm breathing. I'm alive, right? I'm alive. My body's alive, and then I go and I wash my face. And I've gotten to the point now where when water's running down my face, I take a second and I enjoy the fact that I can feel cold water running down my face. We take things like that for granted, that sensation that feels so refreshing. There's people that can't feel that, and obviously people that are dead can't feel it, and you could be dead. Your body could have quit on you 3 months ago, but it not only did it get you through that, but it's getting through this morning with you, and it's allowing you to enjoy some of these sensations, and it's allowing you to live another day, to fight another day, to get better another day, and it deserves praise for that, not hate. But I think it starts with acknowledging those little things. So the first one would be don't disregard the little things, the love in yourself. And I think that blossoms into something much bigger with time. And then I think the second one is, trust the process. It's not going to happen overnight. Self-love does not develop overnight. It takes, I've been working on mine for 2 years, and there are still days that I wake up and I say things I should not say to myself. I pinch my skin in the mirror because I don't like the way it looks. And, I still do those things. And I've been working on this for 2 years. It's not going to happen overnight. Self-love takes a lot of time, but it does get better. I know how you feel right now. I know it's rough, but it gets better. And you just have to keep pushing, and you will find that answer. It just takes time, and you have to be able to trust that process and be patient with yourself.
So who are your biggest support systems when it comes to self-love? Because it can be a very lonely and hard journey when you're doing this all by yourself.
Okay, so my biggest my biggest ones in that regard are one, my friend Frida. She I don't know if she even watched this or not, but Frida is definitely the top one. Like she listens to all my crap. She's my best friend. She listens to all my crap. She lets me whine. She talks me down. She kicks my butt when I need it kicked. Very, very supportive friend of mine. Coach Mike would be another one. Me and Mike are very open with each other about our struggles and like where our mind's at that day. And so he's another one that helps me a lot. Those two would be the biggest in terms of people that really like are my like support system when it comes to those dealing with those things in particular. And then of course, like, Robert Sykes' wife, Crystal, she's very big on like women's image issues, and I know she loves me, and I know that if I need to reach out to her, she's going to answer me and give me a good answer. And so I have other people that I know I can lean on for support, and that in itself is great. Like, you don't always need support, but knowing that you have people you can reach out to is powerful in of itself. But when it comes to like two people that actively support me and that we talk about these things almost daily and work through them, it would be Frida and Mike for sure.
So what is it like? You tell them how you're feeling and then they kind of give you a pep talk, or are they just there as a sounding board?
It depends on the situation. There are times where I message one of them and I'll be like, hey, like, I just need you to listen. I just need to vent, and I'll just vent. And of course I know them, and they're my friends for a reason. Normally they don't keep their mouth shut. They'll say something back. They won't just like, they won't just be a sounding board. They'll be like, you're being an idiot, something like that. And so sometimes it's a sounding board, and sometimes I'll message Mike and go, dude, like, I need you to talk me off a ledge. Like, I'm feeling this way right now. And he'll take the time to talk to me in a nice way. He's much nicer when I come to him and say, hey, like, if I just like say like, oh, I feel fat, he's just going to say something dumb to me, but it makes me laugh, which is good. But like, if I like message and go, hey, like, I need you to talk me off a ledge, I'm not having a good day, then the response is, what it needs to be. So we've all built a kind of like a language with each other to where like, if I need a particular response, then I will let them know before I start talking. And it's the same back. Yeah. Like if Frida or Mike just need to vent, they'll like, hey, I need someone to talk to. Like, I just need to vent. And I'll be like, okay, vent. Or if it's like, hey, like, I feel stupid for this. Am I stupid for this? And they'll send me the thought, and I'll go, yeah, you're an idiot. Right. So like, it depends on the context and the topic, but different responses for different times.
That's good, because we are all emotional beings, and at different times we will need different things to help us through. You talk about feeling fat. So let's say somebody is like binging right now, okay, and they're feeling fat, or they, I don't know, missed the workout, or they're just feeling bad in their body, and they are feeling just icky and gross, and they're feeling fat. Advice?
Yeah. So some people, so like, it's funny because like I watch a lot of like eating disorder helpers and stuff on YouTube and advice givers, and they tend to be a little bit more tame than me in these kind of events. So I would tell somebody that it just got done with a binge, I would say, listen, how do you feel right now? And they'd probably tell me icky and fat and gross. And I'm like, you remember that feeling, and you remember what caused that feeling. It's important to not stay in the present, but to learn from the present. And so oftentimes we stay in it, and that's the problem. But you need to acknowledge it, like, because when you go to binge again, you want to remember how it made you feel last time, right? So acknowledgement matters. Like, acknowledge that you made a mistake. Acknowledge that you messed up. Acknowledge that this made you feel like crap. And right now you feel icky, and you feel fat, and you feel nasty. Like, acknowledge that and embrace that as a truth. And then realize that you can't control what just happened. All you can control is the next decision you make. Time machines don't exist. So my advice would be to embrace how you feel, remember how you feel, and then move forward and realize that tomorrow's a new day, and every step you take in the right direction tomorrow will make yesterday feel farther and farther away.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God, I love that. Every step you take today will make that moment feel farther and farther away. Guys, you need to write this down. It's like a jewel. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. To branch off of that, anytime you're feeling guilt or shame or regret, is there anything, any kind of words of reassurance? What can you do when you're feeling guilty, shameful, and regretful at just anything, whether that be eating or maybe you did something that wasn't in your highest being?
I honestly, I think it breaks down to the same advice. Like, when you feel guilt and shame, realize that, like, it's okay to acknowledge that something was wrong, but you just can't stay there. Like, I think that's the pivotal thing. And whether it's a spiritual issue, a food issue, a mental issue, a physical issue, the biggest problem that humans have is we have a hard time moving on, right?
So how can we give more empathy to ourselves?
I think it starts with not expecting perfection, right? Like, you have, so in the Bible, right? In Philippians, the book of Philippians is written by this guy named Apostle Paul, for the people that don't know the Bible. And there's
you got this down, you memorized it.
So Philippians 3 verses 11 through 17, he says, "Not yet that I have found perfection, though I am imperfect, I reach for perfection for that prize which then Christ has laid hold for me." And so basically what he's saying is, like, I know I'm imperfect, but I strive for perfection because I know that that perfection is a prize that's for me, waiting for me. And so in the same sense in life, you don't want to be you want to be a perfectionist while realizing that you're not perfect and that it's okay to mess up. And so, like, there's like this balance of, like, knowing that you're imperfect, it doesn't validate you just throwing in a towel and not trying. But racing for perfection needs to come with the idea of knowing that you're not always going to hit that mark, and that's okay. And so I think being able to empathize with yourself and grow at the same time, you have to have both of those. You have to have that ability to, like, okay, I'm going to get 1% better. I'm going to get 5% better today. And if I mess up, that happens, but I'm not going to embrace the mess up. I'm not going to expect the mess up. I'm going to chase perfection. But in the back of my mind, I'm going to remind myself that this is going to be a rocky journey and that it's going to be a process, and that's okay.
Do you ever find yourself comparing yourself to either other people or yourself, like even the previous day? Like, oh, yesterday I smashed my workout and today I just feel so weak, or, oh, they have so much more followers than me and why can't I do that? And especially when we're comparing ourselves to our previous selves, right? We compare ourselves to last week, a month, or maybe even yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, all the time. It's funny, a lot of my episodes now with, like, my body dysmorphia and stuff, some of them are triggered because in my head I start comparing myself. Like, one of my friends might put up a photo and they're still shredded, and I'm like, I'm not shredded, and I'll go,
yeah,
I'll see them, and then all of a sudden I start calling myself fat. I'm not fat, like, but I'm doing that because that thought crossed my mind, and so it triggered a bunch of negative thoughts. So I struggle with that too, definitely. And of course, the logical answer and the advice I'm going to give somebody is, you are you. You need your health. Like, okay, health does not equal abs. Abs do not equal health. You do not have to be shredded to be healthy. And just because you're shredded does not mean that person is healthy. And my point in saying that is like, your idea of health. Okay, so health is the ability to do what you want to do in life. So stop worrying about Karen over there posting Instagram photos in the good lighting. You need to figure out, what do I want to do in life, and what do I need to do to achieve those things in life? If that's run around with your kids, then get healthy enough to where you can run around with your kids. If that comes with abs, fantastic. If it doesn't, who cares, right? And so, like, figuring out what health is for you and chasing that goal is super important. And so, like, it's funny, like, yeah, I'm not shredded right now, but, like, I just ran 8 miles yesterday. I'm going to go run 12 today, right? Like, my body can do some freaking crazy things. And so, like, I have to remind myself that, like, my goals are my goals. And if later on with all this running, I happen to get really lean and get abs, great, I'll love it. But if not, I'm okay with my body where it's at. Like, I love my body for where it's at because it's thriving. It fits good in my clothes. I can perform well. I'm running 30, 40 miles a week. I'm chasing my goals. I'm able to be productive at work. My mind's functioning properly. I'm happy. I'm content. And all those things matter outside of just looking lean. Like, it's funny, so many people will try comparing themselves to other people, and they'll try to get to that point, and they're willing to get to that point because they think that that's going to be what they need to get to be accepted or be healthy, and they'll sacrifice the other 99% of health. Like, they'll sacrifice their libido, their hormones, their hunger, their mental space, their emotional space. They'll sacrifice all of that just to feel like they are as healthy as the person they compare themselves to. They'll sacrifice the 99 to go get the one. And while in a Christian perspective, sacrificing the 99 to go get the one is beautiful for God to do, it is not okay when it comes to your health personally. And so don't sacrifice the 99% of your health just to look a certain way or just to be like a certain person. You know, do you, boo-boo?
You do you. And I also know that athletes tend to be perfectionists and critique their performance based on their energy, their mood, how long maybe it took them, or how high they jumped, or how many miles they ran. And your body fluctuates and your emotional state fluctuates every single day. So when you go into your runs, do you have that expectation? Do you have that anticipation? And then do you have that like, oh my God, that was so great, or man, that sucked compared to yesterday's run. I can't believe that was my performance today.
100%. I think that's a different thing. I think I think that my desire to perform at a high level is not in on the same playing field as like my self-love or self-acceptance. So like, regardless of whether I have a bad run or a good run, it doesn't make me hate or love myself any less. But it's because I separate the two. Like, I know that like if I slept bad, I know that if I ate a little too much salt, I know that if I had too much caffeine or whatever, that my run the next day is going to be dictated. Like, it's going to affect it. Like, there's going to be something that happens. And so I embrace that fact. Like, every day is not going to be the same. Like, I have the intention to chase perfection, knowing that I'm going to be imperfect. Every day I put on my shoes and I go for my run, I expect the best for myself. If it doesn't happen for whatever reason, I acknowledge why it didn't happen and I try to work on it and make it better, but I don't linger on it. I don't stay there. I acknowledge the present and then I move on to the future. I do that with everything in life, right? With myself, with my weight, with my performance, with my spiritual life. Like, I think that those are foundational things to do with all of your life. Embrace where you're at and then move on to the future, right? And so if I have a bad day, I had a bad day. I figure out, I think about why I had the bad day. I acknowledge it. I put things in place to make sure that I don't have the same kind of outcome the next day. And then I move on.
Yeah, don't linger. Just move is what I'm hearing a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Don't linger.
That's amazing. What is your word? Okay, we touched on that. I don't have many more. Okay, cold therapy. So talk to me about your views on cold therapy. If you use it, what do you do?
Okay, so I don't know about the science behind like cold showers and stuff. I really don't. I personally like to, after my run, so like I come out from my run, obviously I'm super hot, I'm sweaty, it was hot outside, I live in Texas, and I'll immediately go jump in a cold shower, like immediately. And I guess
how long?
Oh, not long. Like, you're talking like 30 seconds to a minute. Like,
okay, that's quick. That's like
yeah, I'll jump in it, and basically I jump in it until it doesn't feel cold anymore. So like I'll get in the water and it immediately makes me hyperventilate. It's like, but like I like it because one, it just feels so good after my body being so hot for so long, but also like I have to control my breathing, or like you can like make yourself pass out when you get into cold water because like you like, you know, so like it makes me like exert control, and I like being empowered. Like I really believe in the empowerment. Like you need to be empowered to make your own choices. And so like I like that idea of like it just helps me focus in on like controlling my breathing. Even though my body wants to react one way, I control it and make it react another way. And so I like that aspect of it. In terms of like fat burning and mental clarity and testosterone and hormones, I don't know about any of that. I just like to do it. It's just part of my routine in the mornings. That like my routine this morning got messed up. I'm not used to this, but like normally I would run, come home, jump in a cold shower, and then start my day. So yeah, it's just part of my routine. I enjoy it, like from like a mental perspective kind of
Yeah,
mentality.
like that badass, I can do hard stuff kind of thing.
Yeah, I love putting myself through pain. It's like a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, when you're able to do hard things, it naturally, scientifically, is proven that it boosts your self-confidence. So I definitely understand that aspect of it. Yeah.
I didn't know
Also,
that, but it makes sense.
Well, now you know. Well, yeah, and it makes sense. So if you were, okay, I'm going to ask you this question. It's going to be the second last question. Where can we find you? And yeah, where can we find you? Just tell us.
Yeah, so theketoroad.com is my website. You can also email me directly, theketoroad@gmail.com. I answer emails daily, so I will respond. Instagram @theketoroad, TikTok @theketoroad, YouTube is Jonathan Shane TKR. It's not the Keto Road anymore. I wanted to actually put my name on it. And then Twitter is Keto Road. So those are those links. You reach out to me on any of those, I will respond promptly. And yeah.
Is there anything, I always like to ask this, is there anything you would like to say to me or to anybody watching this right now that would make this feel complete? It would make this session feel complete for you.
It's a good one.
You can ponder on it.
Well, one, I want to thank you. I've really enjoyed the talk. I'm glad you reached out, and I remember you reached out on YouTube and then Instagram, like how the relationship developed. I enjoyed that. Honestly, if I can think of anything, I want to make sure people understand. It's that you are worth fighting for. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like all of it, like the trusting the process, the not lingering on the bad stuff, the appreciating the little things, the trusting the process, like all these things that we've talked about, all boil down to this one point of understanding that your life is worth fighting for, that it has meaning and it has purpose. And whether you may not see that yet or not, doesn't change the fact. Like just because, you haven't gone outside so you can't see the sun doesn't mean it hasn't risen. And so like your life has meaning and you're worth fighting for, and you're worth applying these principles and fighting for your life and making it a good one. Not a good one in the sense of being a millionaire because you develop self-love, but a good one in the sense of like you can live life knowing that you appreciate and understand who you are as a person. And I think that everybody deserves that chance.
On your grave, if you had a motto, a sentence, something, what would it say?
Never settle.
I love it because that's how you always end your Instagram post.
I'm working on getting that saying trademarked for my company.
No way.
Yeah.
Are you able to? I feel like it's so common.
Yeah.
It's so common.
I think I might be able to pull it off. Well, only because like if I trademark it for like my company, I don't think other people can say never settle, but I think that like it's just like for me that'll be special because like
yes, that's your
that's
thing.
my thing. Like that's my thing. So like so like never settle. It's like man, put that on my tombstone. Like
awesome.
Never settle.
So like that would be your last words. Never settle. Bam.
Literally, if I'm dying,
go and reunite.
Straight up, like if I'm dying and like my wife is like at my deathbed, I'd be like, "Come here, babe." She'd get close to my ear, it'd be like this magical Hallmark moment, and I'd go, "Never settle."
Never settle. Make a Disney movie. Disney, you hear this? Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This was like the highlight of my day, Jonathan. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. You guys, when I reached out to Jonathan, he was like super. I asked him a question and he's like, he takes the time to reply to you and actually read your messages. I felt like he wasn't this untouchable icon, this celebrity thing. I felt like he was real and he really cares about you. So please reach out to Jonathan, sign up with him for coaching if it feels aligned with you. Follow him on all the social medias. I'll have the link down in the description below. And I just want to say thank you again. Thank you so much. If there's anything I can do for you, Jonathan, I want to keep in touch in the future. I want to shake your hand one day. That is on my to-do list. Yeah, namaste, my fitties, and thank you so much for tuning in to this amazing conversation. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you as well. And again, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed it.
Bye. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. I really hope that you enjoyed this interview. And again, I'll be back with the regular vlog/uploads for positivity and also motivational content next week. All right, leave a comment below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification so you know when the next video is coming up. And if you would like to work with me specifically as a coach for self-love, for upping your, upping your vibration and letting go of the fears that's holding you back and implementing new habits, or you're new to keto and you just don't know where to start, /diet and exercise, you don't know where to start, how to start exercising, or how to start cleaning up your diet and getting the body of your dreams and the life of your dreams, feeling the way that you've always desired to feel, let me know in an email. I have that in the description below as well, and I look forward to hearing from you. All right, take care. Namaste.